Hey people, happy Sunday. It's a beautiful day here and I hope it is where you are too. Thank you for joining me for another Artist Spotlight Sunday. You know, this spotlight came by chance and worked out perfectly because while making my schedule for Artist Spotlight Sunday, I accidentally skipped a Sunday and didn't realize it until my Artist Spotlight last week. But like Mama always said, everything happens for a reason because coincidentally, this past Friday, I released my new song, Relinquish, featuring my husband on drums. Now, he's not the type to want to be spotlighted, but too bad. As you can see, if you follow me, he doesn't really put himself out there, but this year, he's making moves that require him to be present, and I can't wait to tell you about him. So with that said, today, I introduce to you musician, drummer, Mr. Alhakim, a groove of my own Johnson. Despite being out of the limelight, he has created a respected path as a musician that has kept him relevant in the local music scene. We gonna shine this light today, so let's go. Al was born in Newark, New Jersey, and a couple years later, his parents moved to Piscataway, New Jersey. There is where Al started banging away on his mom's pots and pans, basically destroying them. His parents quickly recognized the talent Al was trying to convey, and after some overtime work and savings, his parents was able to buy him his first drum set. Al was influenced at a very young age by his father, Mr. Hayes Johnson, who was an extraordinary guitar player and an organist that played with legendary artists in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. He was also a music teacher at Newark School of Performing Arts. During his early years, Al was able to take classes with Mr. Thomas Price at the school where his dad taught. This school was Al's foundation to homing in on his skills. I got to experience Al's playing, believe it or not, back in 1987 at the Schor Middle School Jazz Concert. His teacher, Tom Seelan, depended on him for a performance and a solo that he shockingly and brilliantly delivered. Guess what, y'all? I got that video in the caption. Make sure you check it out because you'll be amazed at the talent he had at such an early age. This was the day that the quiet, laid-back guy became not only the talk of the school, but respected and adored by all because no one had come through the school doors with talent comparable to his. During his high school years, he also played with the award-winning Piscataway Super Chiefs Marching Band as first snare. This band was so good, they won championships for all 4 years he played. Al remembers his dad taking him to local jazz clubs where although he wasn't old enough to sit at the bar, he was talented enough to sit in on stage with experienced musicians. He recalls one time he was called on stage at the infamous Peppermint Lounge in East Orange, New Jersey. One of the musicians called him out, making fun that he wasn't ready. Al was extremely upset, but his dad basically told him to practice and shed some more, shake it off, go back, and do it again. 2 weeks later, he left the musician speechless and had a new form of respect as a young musician. No one ever questioned his talents again, reflecting his age because they knew he could hold down a performance with his impeccable skills. As he went on in his adult years, Al became known on the local gig scene, playing with several bands at local music venues and festivals. Band leaders loved calling on him because he could lay a pocket like no other. He also has a skill of playing any music and any genre. I have seen him get called for gigs an hour before performance with musicians he never played with before and music he didn't know. But you couldn't tell because he doesn't just play drums, he feels it. And when you hear him, you feel it too. His primary skill, believe it or not, is not his playing. He watches and he listens and tunes himself in with all the musicians on stage. And he says that he can hear and feel where the song is going just by looking at another musician's body language and following their sound. This is what other band leaders and musicians seek after him for. They know once they call and he takes a job, they never have to worry about him. He is always the first one there to set up and ready to go, and they know the job will get done way past their own expectations. This talent has allowed him to grace the stage with some fabulous musicians and artists such as Lynn Mathis, Heather Sullivan, Kyle Turner, Letitia Bush, Slick Aguilar from Jefferson Starship, and he did a recording of a live gospel album with Queenie and the New Jersey Praise Choir. He has also shared the stage opening for top acts like Pieces of a Dream, Phil Perry, Bob Baldwin, and Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. Al has worked with many musicians in the tri-state area, including smooth jazz horn player Mr. Gordon James, at local venues and festivals, including various appearances at the huge annual Liberty State Park July 4th Festival and their jazz concert events. At one time, he was requested to do a double drumming clinic at the music store Sam Ash with his friend and drummer, Gray Barham. There they showed how two drummers can share the same stage and add a different nuance to a performance. He also had an open mic question and answer discussion talking about his experience as a drummer and giving tips on his style of drumming. One of his most memorable highlights was when he played with the off-Broadway show Ain't Misbehavin'. This was a challenging gig which required him to read charts, which is something he doesn't do. But the way he set up, a challenge never set him back before, and it wasn't going to start now. Lo and behold, he was able to complete the off-Broadway run without missing a beat. In 2017, he was called to do a 2-month stint at the Estral in Berlin, Germany, with the Legacy Michael Jackson tribute tour with William Hall. This was a check off the bucket list, as it had been the first time he would traveled outside of the country to play. This for him was a mind-blowing experience that he'll never forget. He continued to do gigs locally with different bands, and he also held down his own band featuring our daughter Cleo as lead vocalist. Fast forward to 2020, COVID hit, and all gig-playing musicians had to find other ways to create income because all live gigs had vanished. This was a hard time for Al because not only had a part of income disappeared, the passion he has for playing was so great, it really affected him mentally and emotionally when he couldn't play live. Al decided he wanted to venture to a part of music he always thought about, and this seemed to be the best time to do it. He took on a few students who wanted to learn how to play drums. He also decided he wanted to start laying drum tracks for other artists, so we built a home studio. During this time, he also helped me hone in on my music creating skills. Once I decided to release music for the first time, he went outside of his comfort zone and decided to try his hand at mixing and mastering my first 2 singles. This has sparked a fire in him that has him focused on making his studio a music-making one-stop shop for any musician and or artist that wants to record their works and have the capabilities from composing to mastering and everything in between. In 2023, he is featured on my new single, Relinquish, which was just released March 3rd. He will also feature on additional songs on my upcoming album, When One Door Closes. This year, Al will also start working with other artists, working on his own album, and teaching more. He continues to play gigs with his band Hard to Resist and other bands such as The Tribe and the Heavy Soul Blues Band. Look out for Al Johnson because 2023 has him busting out of his drum shell, and you will start seeing and hearing more of what he has to offer. You can start by getting a glimpse of his talents by clicking on some of the links in the caption, and make sure to follow him on Facebook and Instagram at A Groove of My Own. And you can follow us both on Instagram at Just a Couple in the Studio. I hope you enjoyed this Artist Spotlight Sunday, and thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, hugs and love.